Hi, I'm Mrs. P. Smith, the Mama Bear at school, your favorite ELA and SPED teacher, but always teaching my students about business.
I'm Miss Rose, commonly known as the snarky teacher, always ready with the good candy. The kids say I'm their favorite math teacher. After school, it's lights, camera, action. During school hours, it's Miss Carter, the life science teacher saving lives.
We got the queens in the house, y'all. Real teachers of Atlanta.
Welcome back to another episode of The Real Teachers of Atlanta. I am Joya. We have Nikki and Ty and our special guest, Miss Justice. Justice is a seasoned educator, passionate homeschooling advocate, and author of the best-selling book, Simple Homeschool, a stress-free guide to getting started with the bare essentials. Her 8 years of experience with homeschooling has provided her with insight and wisdom. Justice aims to empower parents who are considering their homeschooling journey. So now we're going to talk to Miss Justice about how did you get into homeschooling? Let's just start with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting into homeschooling was a very easy decision. I was actually a teacher before.
Okay.
So I was an educator in the school system working in DeKalb County.
Mm-hmm.
So having spent a number of years in the system, I kind of had an idea that homeschooling was probably going to be in our cards.
Okay.
So once my son was about kindergarten, he also wears hearing aids, so he needed some special attention.
Okay.
So he spent about half a semester in kindergarten, and then that next year I pulled him out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. So how many children at home are you homeschooling?
Right now, I'm currently homeschooling all four of my sons.
Wow. And do you offer to homeschool? I know like homeschooling has become a big thing over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Are you offering like homeschooling to your people in your community, neighborhood?
So no, I do not offer anything right now. I have never really considered it, but I do work with other homeschool families who need consulting and need some advice on how to get started and what do they need to do to go ahead and get started. And this is kind of what led me to write the book. Because I typically over the years have had the same questions asked over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't currently homeschool any other children. We travel a lot. We did a lot of traveling, so I really didn't have a lot of time to really dedicate all of my time to anyone else's children, but we did. I do consulting a lot.
Okay.
Interesting.
So what's the name of your book? Oh, do we want to get into it right now?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
What is the
Yeah.
name of your book? And
So
can you
this
tell us a
one-
little bit about it?
Yes, this one's called the Simple Homeschool Book. It's a book to really help you get started with the bare essentials. Typically, when you're just getting started, it's really, really tough because of the amount of information that you have to dig through.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that it was a need for parents who are just getting started to know where to start because it's so overwhelming. So this book typically targets that, those families who are like, I don't know what to do. It's so much. What curriculum? What math? What English? Who can I speak to? So, yeah.
Okay. So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were making that transition, what were some of the things that really led you to decide to make the decision to homeschool versus leave your son in public school?
Right. So the biggest decision was Black sons. My son was a brown boy. And so I felt that they needed special care in the space. I did not see a great representation of brown boys being thriving in the school system, in the public school system. They're just surviving. In fact, they're kind of being picked out single-handedly. And sometimes I will see how they're just disappearing out of my classrooms. They got expelled for whatever reason. I'm like, well, why did that little boy get expelled? So I did not see enough representation of brown boys, thriving academically, outside of sports. I was like, no, I don't need my son to be in this space. And so it was an easy decision. I had to get their father to really see. He, initially was hesitant, but he saw it. He saw the need to really, pour into our son. He definitely still needed additional attention. Being in large spaces was not going to work for him. And then once we decided, it was one of the best decisions we could ever do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I have experiences in both charter and private. Of course, I also have experience in public schools. So I guess my next question would be, did you ever think about a private or charter opposed to doing homeschooling first, or did you automatically just was like homeschooling it is?
Yes, from the very beginning when my son was in kindergarten, it was homeschooling from the very beginning.
Okay.
And initially it was K through 12. No, they're not stepping foot into anybody's school. They're just going to be at home.
Okay.
And as it's been about 7 or 8 years, and so things shifted a bit. Last year, we tried Montessori for 1 year, and they're back at home this year.
Okay.
Wow.
So, that's the only shift and transition that we've done. I wanted to find, a merging or some sort where they have more opportunities with more homeschoolers. So more of a hybrid program where they can kind of go for 2 or 3 days and then they come back home. So from the very beginning, it's always just been homeschool.
Now, can homeschooling go all the way up to 12th grade?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've seen parents homeschool, but they send their kids back to school when they reach high school.
Yeah.
Do you think your kids are missing any social engagement? How does that affect them?
I think they do if you're not really intentional about creating a social space for your child. And it's so many opportunities that you can offer your child as a homeschooler to associate with other homeschoolers. Now the Tim Tebow law allows your son or daughter to go into the public school, so you can actually access the public school systems if you want to. You can kind of do a part-time situation. But in our case, we have joined different communities, Kid Cultivators, for example, and Leslie Bray is over Kid Cultivators, and it's a homeschooling community where all homeschoolers come together. We're going on field trips. We're doing things together. So there are so many groups and programs that are just like that here in Georgia.
Nice.
Some are taking classes, like on Thursdays, there's LEAD, and LEAD Homeschoolers is Educator, and they meet up and they have their classes. You can sign up Monday through Friday for classes. You have paid tutors that comes in and does their math or does their science or does their English or does their writing. You can literally just write out a script for each child.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said they come in, they don't come to your home, or this is a place you have to meet them at?
So it depends on the community that you're a part of. For example, LEAD meets up at a church, like the community rent out a church. And so the churches usually have so much space. They got playgrounds, they got classrooms, they have the sanctuary, they have recreational spaces. So you can, the kids are playing basketball. They're just really almost like a small school. It's just tailored, it's literally tailored to your needs.
So with the curriculum, because I know with public school, there's a certain standard or an AKS or a test that, there's a district that hovers over the public school environment. So with homeschooling, how does that work with testing? Is there a certain standard that the kids, can they be retained?
Right. That's the beauty. So depending on the state you live in, that's going to determine how you legally should homeschool in your house.
Okay.
So Georgia, fortunately, Georgia is very lenient. And so it's very little that you have to do in comparison to other states. Like some states, you got to keep a portfolio and somebody comes into the house to make sure the kids are okay. Whereas Georgia doesn't do anything like that. You literally have to sign a declaration of intent to say, hey, we're homeschooling. Every 3 years, you need to test your children. No one, comes and checks it, but you want to make sure you have it. So you have, every 3 years, you want to test them, and you can pick the test that you want. You pay for it. You can proctor it yourself. You also create a summary at the end of the year of what you did. They do require you to have math and language arts and reading, but you get to choose what curriculum you want to use. So it's so broad in how you want to do that. You don't have to say, oh, Georgia says you have to do this book.
Okay.
They want you to do this math book. No, it's not like that. You can pick from all of the choices of math books that fits your child's learning style.
That is amazing. That's really cool.
So what does the structure look like at your home?
Let's get. I know what is
Let's get to it. Let's get to it.
Right, I want to know too.
Is there a designated place in the home? Like, what does your
Yeah.
structure look like? Because I'm at home.
Internet.
I'm taking a break.
Yes. So I'm not that parent. So I'm not the, the tiger parent.
Okay.
But I'm also not the lax parent either. I'm a little bit eccentric in our style. So forever and a day, we would rise when maybe around 9, 8 or 9. So routinely my kids are eating breakfast, they're cooking breakfast, and they know right now our routine is to come to the table, the kitchen table, and that's kind of where we do our work. Wow. We've traveled a bit, we've moved a bit, it's looked different, and each year I've been very structured, like I'm just coming out of the classroom to, okay, we're not doing nothing, I'm tired,
Okay.
So every year it's been different. Every year it's been different because we evolve, we change, our needs are different. And so that's the beauty of homeschooling. You can tailor it to how you see fit.
Are there supports? So, I mean, I know that we have students who receive like special services for like their learning and development if they have delays or challenges or any cognitive issues. How are those students maybe supported through homeschooling? And are there supports for those parents to support their students while they're homeschooling?
So I would say you can lean in with the public school system to get support. So, for example, my son wears hearing aids, and there was some speech. There was a speech teacher, or we needed some speech services. And so I just linked up with the public school system to make sure he can start going there. Now, COVID hit and we weren't able to kind of follow through with that, but the school system still opens the door for those resources that you possibly need. And if they can't offer it, they can obviously send you different places.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So why do you think most parents don't look at homeschooling as an option? You think it's a lack of education, which I'm so glad that you wrote the book that you have, which everybody needs to get, by the way.
Yeah, get it.
But why do you think most people just don't even look at homeschooling as an option?
I think there's a number of things. That's such a complex question because some people have like a mentality that your kids are going to be weird.
Right. Right.
I don't want my kids to be weird,
Exactly.
but there's weird kids in public school.
Oh
Yes, there are.
You have a number. It's just the personality of the kid.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It really is. That's so true. Yeah.
Yeah, you got weird kids. They're sitting at the table, at the lunch table. And you're like, listen, what is he thinking about? So, I think that's a stigma. They really don't have the resources to help them know that how easy it really is to really get into it.
Yeah.
Work scheduling.
Yeah, that part.
I have to work, so my kids can't stay at home. I really would like them to stay at home, but where are they going to go?
Right.
So it's a number of things. And then some families just think it's weird. Like, no, my kids just need to be around people. And it's such a complex question.
Wow.
For sure.
Yeah.
I could see that. I do remember, like, I've known only one person who's been homeschooled before, and I mean, she's fine. Like as an adult, she's fine. But I could definitely see, like, I know we've had students that have come from like homeschooling back to public school, and I'm always like, I don't really know how to respond to you because I have no idea what did you do,
Yeah.
And then I've heard, you hear like on social media and you read so much, and there is a lot of negativity around homeschooling, but listening to you, I'm like, I don't know if personally I could do it, but
Sounds like a great idea.
Why, I could definitely see, like, if I could, from a personal perspective, if I was willing to do it, I feel like I could. Like, you make it seem like it doesn't seem like such a barrier, the way that you present it, and like kind of thinking about how it really fits into your lifestyle. But I like that you guys are traveling. So when you're traveling, how do you manage like your schooling? Do you follow like a normal school year schedule? Like what does that look like when you're going from like first grade to second grade, or when your student, like when your kids are kind of, it's time for their curriculum to like increase in rigor. What is that? How do you determine that?
So, so 2 questions. You mentioned traveling and what the schedule looks like. So in the past, we traveled a lot with their father. And once COVID hit, most of the traveling kind of settled down. So when we were traveling, I just brought their books with them. At the very beginning of the year, I'm planning it out. Usually I kind of consult with a friend of mine. I have a homegirl who's really good at helping consulting and lining things out for the entire year. So we collaborated because, we kind of shared some of the same resources. And you're picking their curriculum. And typically it's either workbook or it's a textbook, or you're doing Sunlight Education, which is more literature based. So if you are, reading history, you can use just regular library books or to get your history in, or you can choose a curriculum that's more workbook based, where it's open and go. So as far as rigor and where your child is and what's next, it's literally written out in whatever curriculum you purchase.
Wow, okay.
Because it's once they finish that book and they're doing well in that book, we could just move on to the next book. Well, what if my son is, moving in the math book really, really quickly? Well, we could do 2 lessons a day.
Wow.
Or I can go and find a more advanced math book, which Beast Academy, most homeschoolers probably can consider that a more advanced math book. We'll pick some lessons out of that and let's work through that in between, the other lessons that you're working out of. So you are right there and you really are understanding where your child is academically because you're there all day long. So if I wanted to move them or slow them down, or if I want to change the curriculum, I can switch it out. You can, So the second question was that was traveling. So yeah, I answered both of them.
You did good. I like that. Smart.
So I moved to Georgia around 2013. I really didn't hear a lot about homeschooling probably around 2015.
Okay.
But now I'm starting to hear about it more and more.
Yeah.
Now with things are happening in school, of course, there's a lot of chaos that's been happening, such as gun shootings.
Yeah.
How much percentage, or is there a number that you can give that you think more parents have converted to homeschooling because of that reason?
I feel I can't give a percentage, but I can say it's a massive, move outside of the public school system. There has been an increase in family and friends reaching out to me. Hey, I'm interested in my son, or my daughter homeschooling. It's large. Like it's a large percentage of our population looking to move out of the public school system and homeschool their kids.
Absolutely.
Because of that. I mean, the culture you guys have all been in the classroom. It's not nice. It's not nice. The morals are not there. Families are wanting to put God back into their homes and speak, more spiritually based on whatever the family dynamic is. Yeah. They want to make sure those influences are happening on a daily basis, and they're just not getting that from the school system. Yeah. It's just tough. So yeah, because of that, I feel like there's a lot of families looking to homeschool or find alternative ways, hire a tutor,
Because you can take control over what you want your child to learn if you're in a homeschool setting.
Yeah.
And my next question for somebody, and one of y'all jump out. I'm going to bring it back to sports. Can homeschool students go into the public schools and play sports?
Yeah. Absolutely. The Tim Tebow law allows that.
Wow.
Now, I think last year was the first year, or I think it was last year, was the first year they passed the Tim Tebow law that allows homeschoolers to play sports for their zoned school. And you don't even have to be zoned. You can actually get permission if you're outside of a zone.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be the case for my family because one of my sons plays really competitive baseball. And so he's going to need permission to play at a certain school that he wants to go to, or we're going to have to move our home and, feed into that district.
Oh, wow.
So he absolutely can still homeschool, and he can also play for the teams at the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a question about the cost. Because I know you're talking about curriculum. I know we look at public schools being free and we pay, homeowner's taxes. But what is it like cost-wise? And I know you're saying you have 4 children homeschooling. What does that cost look like for you? If you don't mind sharing.
You could. So my book goes into the bare essentials. You can homeschool for very little because all you need is a library card. and
That's free.
a composition notebook, and them babies can write every day.
Wow.
Okay.
You can Google some vocabulary words online and find a math curriculum. Maybe that would be the most you can, invest in a math curriculum, and y'all are good to go. If you can get out of your head and realize that you don't really need much to homeschool anyone. You don't need much. And then you can get started at a very low cost and just work your way into buying more expensive curriculum things that you want to do. I don't recommend starters to go and buy these big bulk curriculum, box curriculum opportunities because they're so expensive.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be $8,000 for your whole entire family, or you can spend $100 for the whole entire family by just getting a library card.
Wow.
So it really depends on you. Yeah.
I don't know if I was prepared for that.
The
Such a
8,000,
vast,
right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, wait a
Depends
minute.
on what you want to do.
Yeah, because those more expensive curriculums, they're giving you everything.
Okay.
Everything. You don't have to do anything. You have your science stuff. You have your math books. You have your manipulatives. You have everything you need. It's just open and go, get started, here you go. And then they're telling you exactly what to do. So this goes into moms and parents who feel like they're inadequate and they don't feel like they have enough knowledge to be able to homeschool their children. Well, some curriculums are like, read this to the child, have them repeat this, they're word for word. And they're telling you exactly what to do.
Like a real lesson plan from like the public school.
Absolutely.
To do. That's
okay.
Okay.
You can find stuff on Teacher Pay Teacher too.
Oh, absolutely.
I know you don't like.
I don't like Teacher Pay Teacher. I know you share, but
what's wrong with Teacher Pay Teachers?
I don't know why. Listen, Teacher Pay Teacher is the
Baby,
gods.
No science curriculum.
Listen,
man, I don't.
Give me
download, especially the freebies.
That's free.
I guess you feel like teachers shouldn't have to pay.
Yes, I don't feel like that's my issue with this. I don't feel like I know teachers use it as a business, but then I also feel like teachers shouldn't charge teachers because you already know we don't make enough.
So we're gonna talk about
so
that.
much.
I know.
No.
Just give it to me. I would rather anything I have put stuff on there. I always just give it away. Because I just can't. I get it. I just
got
can't
nothing
do
to do.
it.
You just doing it. You ain't trying to make no money. These teachers trying to make money.
I know. But don't charge me. I don't know. But that's another thing. It just really. I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me. But
I think there's like a shift that's happening with us, like within our community, with even health and wellness, us educating our own children. I really like the shift because I think in society, people make it feel like you have to depend on other people.
Right.
Like you don't have the autonomy to kind of build your own village and to teach your children. You have to have someone else to kind of do it. And I think, more parents are kind of moving to, okay, no, my child isn't going to eat that. Right. They're going to eat this. They're not going to learn that because, within schools, everything is kind of free. We're going to learn about, certain communities are pushing agendas on our kids and not allowing us to teach our children how we want to teach. So I think that's an amazing thing.
Yeah. It is exciting. I like that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Even with just to piggyback what you're saying, vaccinations. A lot of parents are not vaccinating their children. Right. So that's another reason why they may want to homeschool.
That is probably a very valid reason why folks are,
because those exemptions don't always work.
They really don't.
They don't always work.
I do like that there is this shift, and I like that you pointed out that you're taking your kids to the library and that you're introducing them to different perspectives and different views. Do you think that when it comes to like thinking and like their worldview versus a student that's in public schools view, what do you think that there's a big difference? Yeah, they're critical thinking. Like, what do you think that homeschooling is giving them a bigger picture?
It depends on the homeschool environment because all homeschoolers are not the same.
Okay.
Are the parents intentional about creating opportunities for the kids to, practice their logical reasoning skills? Because there are some kids who are just at home and they're not doing anything. And then there are some homeschoolers who are extremely intellectual and very knowledgeable because their parents were able to get them out and place them intentionally in these different spaces so that they can think through, problem solve, do things on their own, develop their own self-discipline in certain ways. So it really depends. Like I've seen homeschoolers who are extremely well intelligent, and they're like, wow, you're impressed. And then you have some other homeschoolers like, okay, what are you doing at home, sweetheart?
And I don't know why she asked you that question, because she too has experience of knowing the answer. Because with COVID and virtual learning, we know that some parents cannot teach at home.
You can't teach at home.
Or have a pleasant learning environment because
that's true.
we talking in the background.
Yeah.
You bring up a good point though, because some parents, like their financial or economic status might not allow that for them to homeschool.
Rose,
I'm not
reading a book is free.
I'm trying
it's the priorities. When you really want something, you will find a way to get it. But going back to what I was saying earlier, it's the idea is like, wait a minute, I can educate my own children and they will be fine.
And they're going to be fine.
Wait a minute. You don't have to eat that. Like, at what point did we think, it's kind of like the movie The Matrix. I don't know if you all have seen that, but it's like, wait a minute, I can break out of this and I'll be just fine.
Right.
It's kind of just changing your mentality and knowing that it's not weird and getting the education, of course.
Yeah.
So I got to ask, have your children ever said, Mommy, I want to go to school?
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Really? How do you deal with that?
Yeah. I mean, it's heartbreaking for sure.
It's like,
it's heartbreaking because they don't know what they're getting into. We're kind of in that space now. My oldest wants to try it out. So
How old is your oldest?
He's 15.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay. He's 15. So my oldest is ready. And he said, Mom, well, you said that I can go for a semester. And if I don't like it, then we can withdraw. I was like, yes, you can withdraw. Because I was trying to convince him to go part-time. But he's really looking for something, and that I just have to allow that. Like we've been here, we've been doing this for a while. And for a moment it was heartbreaking, but then the more we have dialogue with each other and I can kind of see that it's hard. It's like, okay, I really want to explore this. I can't hold them back, The other ones are kind of like, they don't even look at me. They're like, Mommy's not even going to let me go. So yes, they do have that because they're curious. Kids are curious and they're explorers. They really want to see what's this hype about.
I mean, at 15, this is one of the most pivotal times. Yeah. Do you really want him to?
I do not want him to go at all. But I honestly don't have a choice. Like,
it's wild out there.
It's wild out there. I feel like he needs to experience it so he can see what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I agree. I know he's not my son, right? But I'm just thinking like, I think it makes sense what you're saying. Like, let him try it. Yeah. And he'll be like, nah, please get me up out of here. But I wonder, is there? Maybe not.
Yeah. Oh, that's the thing. Maybe not. He might.
Maybe not.
But then, what would you do? Like, would what he's learned? Like, I almost feel like, I hate to say this, but I almost feel like, because you've done such a good job at giving them what they needed and giving them so much access, I almost feel like public school is so restrictive in comparison. How is it going to help advance him education-wise? And are our kids at that age really mentally at a place where they understand what you're offering at home versus what they're getting at public
that's
school.
Good.
Having to ask to use the restroom and not being able
when
to
I've been just getting up to go.
That part, yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm fingers crossed that he understands, like it hits him and it's like, wait a minute, I had so much freedom at home. I was able to advance faster. I wasn't held back. Sure, there's some things over here. There's some pros and cons here, but I really hope that he can see what you're saying. Like, it's, there's a foundation that I wanted to build within my kids, which was being self-directed, and that you guys can really intuitively be connected with your own spirit and your own heart, and you can really make your own choices and what's best for you. So I'm going to trust that foundation is embedded in him, and that when he goes there, he can kind of see that, okay, this is not a good fit.
Yeah.
Well, my hope is for people that are homeschooled, promote more entrepreneurship.
Absolutely.
Than being in the classroom where it's more supposedly a structured environment. So maybe that could be all the difference.
You have so many opportunities to do that as a homeschooler for sure. So
what about, so I know that there's been a move to do like micro schooling, and I'll try to explain what I think it is, because I am not 100%, but it's like homeschooling. So it's someone who is homeschooling, but they are like taking in like maybe other kids that are homeschooling where the parents, maybe they work or like we've said earlier, maybe don't feel, the parent themselves don't feel like adequate. And I'm finding that the people that are doing this are all just like ex-teachers or people that have retired from the school system, or hey, a mom or a dad that feels like they can do it. Do you think that is something that offers more of that social piece that students may be looking for? Like, have you heard about it? Or
so micro schooling, we don't call it micro schooling, we call it that happens often. That happens often. That's pretty normal in the homeschool community, where communities come together, or us, for example, you're going to do math on Monday, you're going to do English on Tuesday, and all of us are meeting. You just kind of collaborate with each other, decide on what curriculums you want to use. And so this gives us an opportunity for our kids to socialize and develop friendships and things like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That happens often.
So it's really, I feel like what it sounds like is, though it sounds isolating, you're actually building communities instead of, because we look at public schools like it's the community school, right? But it really sounds like you are developing your own community and really advancing your kids to be I feel like through homeschooling, it sounds like you guys are accomplishing the goals that public schools said they had, but they're not. I'm gonna say it out. I'm saying the quiet part out loud. They are not accomplishing, but you guys seem like you are getting it done. It sounds like when you have the structure, which we know is important, we talked about. It sounds like when you build a community of like-minded parents and community members. I can't talk. And you're really giving your kids this bigger view of the world, and they're able to dive deeper into things that are important to them. Do you feel like once your kids are adults and they've gone off into the world, that they'll be maybe a little bit more prepared than students that
I do feel like they're a lot more prepared socially to communicate with the broader spectrum of community and not just their peer group. So my sons can communicate and have fun with a 2-year-old on the playground to an adult at the post office. Because we left the house and we've done life. Homeschooling is life schooling instead of just being like that.
I like that.
Homeschooling is life schooling. So
that's amazing.
That's awesome.
You got me all excited.
You have been great, and thank you
I wish we could talk to you all day.
A wealth of knowledge. But tell us again, how can we find your book?
You can find the book on Instagram right now. It's called the Simple Homeschooling Book. And it's, I just kind of launched it, and it's new and it's fresh, and you can go on there, you can order it. It's an ebook right now. And, hopefully you enjoy it.
Well, we will be sure to link it in the description of this video, and we will make sure that we share it so that you have access to it. So go and get Miss Justice's book. Thank you so much for joining us. And I feel like you maybe changed my mind a little bit about this homeschooling thing. I've only heard negative, things about it. I absolutely love it. Yes. That's all you hear. That's what's out.
Not negative, but just it's not enough education.
Yes, exactly. There you go. There's not enough education surrounding it, so I'm glad you were able to really share.
Definitely drop some gems today.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I love you, ladies.
Yes, thank you so much.
No problem.
You'll be back. I just feel it.
I
know. Well, thanks so much for joining us.
All right. Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more content like this, please remember to subscribe and follow us at Real Teachers of Atlanta.
We got the queens in the house, y'all. Real teachers of Atlanta. We got the queens in the house, y'all.